So this is a follow-up video to the Donald Trump shithole country reaction, a commentary I should say. And this time I am focusing on Haiti, even though I did speak about Haiti a lot in the last video. A lot of people don't know the importance of Haiti and the reasons for Haiti being in the position it's in today, and what our relationship to Haiti should be. So I'm going to read some literature. Let's see if I can get a point across about Haiti, this place that they call shithole country, this place that they call third world. Remember, Haiti is the first independent nation in the Western Hemisphere. Now, you might have heard that it is the second, but trust me, it is the first. You know why it is the first? Because the independence, the so-called independence of the United States cannot be classified as such, because it was a country that held slaves, held people in captive, held human beings in captive. So no country that is committing genocide and practicing slavery can somehow fight against another country to gain independence and freedom and get to correctly state that it is the first independent nation in the West. No. Not buying that argument. When the Haitian Revolution was successful, it banned slavery and it encouraged other countries to fight against slavery. It wasn't a handover of power from one oppressor to another oppressor. One European slave owner to another European slave owner. That wasn't the case in Haiti as it was in the United States. So I don't know how somebody can confidently state that the US was the first independent nation in the Western Hemisphere when it was a slave-holding nation. It's not adding up for me. So Haiti is the first black independent nation in the West and the first independent republic in the West. That is my story and I'm sticking to it. Let me move on, because we have a lot to discuss. So this article is titled "The Price of Liberation." Should I not let it be known to later generations that Alexander Pétion is the true liberator of my country, said Simón Bolívar, the Venezuelan leader who liberated South America from Spanish rule, to Alexander Pétion, the first president of Haiti. Can I read that again? Should I let it be known to later generations that Alexander Pétion is the true liberator of my country, said Simón Bolívar, the Venezuelan leader who liberated South America from Spanish rule, to Alexander Pétion, the first president of Haiti. So, while the Haitian Revolution was going on and these warrior Africans defeated one of the most powerful militaries in the world and gained their freedom, you know who was sitting north, hating on these people getting independence and fighting for their freedom? The United States. And then they want to talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they want to talk about spreading freedom and this and that. These people had a vendetta against Haiti because what? Haiti set an example for African people in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti did that. They defeated one of the most powerful They defeated two of the most powerful militaries in the world. Scratch that again. Three of the most powerful militaries in the world. They defeated France, they defeated Britain, and they defeated the Spanish. So when we speak of Haiti, when we hear of Haiti, and when these media people and these politicians in these Euro-American politicians and these European politicians, when the world speaks of Haiti, just keep into consideration the history of what Haiti represents for black people, for African people. It is not something to be played with or laughed about or brushed to the side as irrelevant. Haiti is the shining example of what we all should aspire to be. So the article continues. On January 1st, 1804, the French colony of Saint Dominique became the Republic of Haiti. After over a decade of fighting against French enslavement and colonization, it was the most successful slave rebellion in the Americas and the only revolt of its kind that led to the creation of a state. What did I say? The only revolt of its kind that led to the creation of a state. And before I move on, I would like people to research Palmares, and that's Quilombo that was in Brazil, and it's similar to Maroon villages in Jamaica, where enslaved Africans escaped and fought and held their independence for an extended period of time. So that's just a side note. Do some research on that. You'll be fascinated. On December 15, 1815, after his defeat in Cartagena by Spain, the revolutionary Simón Bolívar arrived in Aux Cayes, Haiti. He was seeking the aid of Alexander Pétion, one of the founding fathers of Haiti and the first president of the newly liberated Black Republic. Pétion provided shelter and food for Bolívar and the Venezuelan families and soldiers who had traveled with him after his recent defeat by the Spanish. They recaptured and recuperated and regrouped under the care of Pétion. According to records, Pétion provided, among other supplies, 4,000 rifles, gunpowder, food, and a printing press. He also contributed to Bolívar Haitian military strategists and veterans from the Caribbean nations' revolution to accompany him on his April 1816 expedition. In exchange for all the aid that Pétion provided for the Bolivarian revolutionary, he asked that the Venezuelan leader free the slaves in all the countries that were to achieve their independence from Spain. Once again, Spain defeated Bolívar, and once again he returned to Haiti to recuperate and rearm. This time, Pétion gave Bolívar shelter and aid, including a new set of ammunition. In December 1816, Bolívar departed to South America to defeat Spain, and this time he succeeded. According to El Libertador, Writings of Simón Bolívar, a collection of public and private letters of Bolívar, Haiti not only provided material resources, but was also the model for the liberated South American nations. Bolívar structured Bolivia's first government from the example of Haiti, and the Venezuelan constitution was based on the constitution Pétion drew up for Haiti. And of course, he declared slavery illegal in the nascent countries. Bolivar wrote to Petion that, "In my proclamation to the inhabitants of Venezuela and in the decrees I have to issue concerning slaves, I do not know if I am allowed to express the feelings of my heart to your excellency and to leave to posterity an everlasting token of our philanthropy. I do not know, I say, if I must declare that you are the author of our liberty." So right there, you have the leader, the person that led South America to liberate itself from Spanish rule, stating that the author of their liberation was the president of Haiti. So Haiti aided this, the liberation of South America would not have been successful if not, at least at the time, if not for the assistance of the aid militarily of Haiti. And what was Haiti's requirement for this aid? That African people, that people enslaved in these countries be freed. That was the only stipulation, the only condition, the only request. So when you have Haiti in the position it's in today, and you have all of Central and South America free because Haiti sponsored, Haiti provided logistical support to the revolutionary that led these areas to freedom. When you have Haiti suffering today and in need of assistance, no UN forces should be in Haiti. No American, no North American, no European aid needs to go to Haiti. The people of South America need to come out of their pockets and make sure they prop up Haiti. That is how it should be. They owe this to Haiti. Haiti shouldn't have to beg anyone for anything. It should be given because you owe a debt. You owe a debt to Haiti. You owe a debt to Haiti. So when you have this disgusting creature class in Haiti in using this negative language, the leaders of these South American countries should be standing up and condemning anyone who is saying anything negative about Haiti. Right now, Haiti should be a paradise because of what it has done for humanity. And yet you have some Jamaican people styling Haitians the most way. Styling Haitians the most way because them dunce. Because you don't know yourself. Because if you did love yourself and you did know your own history and know the whole politics and your existence, you wouldn't say nothing about Haiti. You would never use a big paintbrush and paint all Haitian people. You would never do it because you don't understand kinship and brotherhood. That you don't understand, and vice versa. For Haitians who automatically see Jamaicans as enemies, it is just friggin' nonsense. But I know for certain I've heard it over and over from Jamaicans. This is passing disrespectful remarks about Haiti. But that is not the focus of this conversation. This conversation is about what Haiti is to the world, because a lot of people do not know these things about Haiti. So when them talking about third world, this is not the action. These are not the actions of a third world country. And when I say third world, I mean shithole. These are not the actions of a shithole country. The actions of shithole countries are the actions of France and the United States and Britain. Because they are the ones committing genocide across the world and stealing land and subjugating people to poverty and stealing resources and paying off collaborators to destabilize nations. That is what a shithole country does. A shithole country doesn't provide armaments, doesn't provide food and shelter and expertise. In return for what? For people being liberated. You talk about benevolence. Show me an act across the world that has been more benevolent than what I just read to you. Please leave that to me in the comment section. Show me the act of a nation that was more benevolent than what Haiti did. So now let's move on to some more facts about Haiti. I want to focus in on why Haiti is in the position that it's in today. So in 1825, France demanded that Haiti pay 150 million gold francs in reparations to former French slaveholders. So you get where I'm going. And this is not Haiti alone. So when so-called emancipation happened in Jamaica, the slave owners, the slave masters, they were given reparations. So the decades and the decades and decades and centuries of enslaving African people and working them without pay. Who gets the reparations when slavery? The slave master. You talk about shithole, you talk about people with no conscience at all. Check England, check France. 12 French warships with 500 cannons were stationed along the coast of Haiti, threatening to re-invade and re-enslave the Haitian state. Haiti's hand was forced. For over a century, Haiti was required to finance the debt through loans from one French bank, which charged Haiti incredibly high interest rates. French political recognition of Haiti did not come until 1834. The brutal slavery of Haiti made France incredibly rich. The first independent black republic sent shockwaves throughout Europe. It was a clear threat to European dominance and stood as a beacon of successful resistance against European colonization. Financing the Bolivarian revolutions and inspiring slave revolts in the United States, Haiti had to be punished. Over the years, this repayment of independence debt to their former slave owners, along with foreign-led coups and occupation, left the Haitian economy crippled and impoverished. As British newspaper The Guardian points out, when the indemnity money Haiti paid France is adjusted for inflation and a minimal interest rate is added, its value in today's money, $40 billion. To this day, France has refused to pay Haiti back the money it illegally demanded for over a century. So when people tell me about Paris and going to France and Eiffel Tower, and I say, fuck France, I'm never going to France. I'm never going to take money out of my pocket and take a trip to a shithole country like France. And when people talk about England, I say the same thing. I'm not going to take money out of my pocket and go to a shithole country like England, like the UK. I don't care how many Jamaicans are there and set up shop there. I don't care that I have family living there. And I'm talking about direct family. I don't care. Shithole country is a shithole country until reparations are paid by these countries to the people that they have subjected to poverty over the years and continue to use their military power to force the hand of these nations. I have no interest in going to anywhere even close to them. If I have money to travel to England or France, that means I have money to travel to somewhere in Africa. And that is just how it is. So when you hear people talking about Haiti in a negative light, and when you hear black people talking about Haiti in a negative light, it's just another expression of self-hatred. Because these Europeans, they model themselves on being like Greece and like Rome and those places, because that's where they claim to get their democracy and stuff from. And they'll mention the ills of these places, but by and large, their views of these places are very positive. And this is what Haiti should be to black people. Any criticism being dished out about Haiti should be constructive criticism. When Haiti is to be condemned, it should be people who are violating the principles of what Haiti stands for. That's who should be condemned. So when you hear all these people now in the media having an uproar about Trump saying shithole countries, their gripe is not about the oppression of Haiti by the United States and by France and by Europe and by the United Nations. It is simply the fact that they have a problem with Donald Trump. They don't like the fact that Donald Trump is the president. So they just use this as another excuse to bash Donald Trump. They don't give a fuck about Haiti. They don't give a fuck about any of the African countries that he is styling as shithole countries. Because they themselves label these countries as third world, which is nothing but a euphemism for shithole. So when I hear them outraged about what Donald Trump said, it's not really about what Donald Trump said. It's because Donald Trump said it and because they use the wrong word, he used the wrong wording. These people aren't against oppression, they aren't against imperialism. You're talking about people on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and all of them. These people love imperialism. Remember when the Iraq War was about to start? These people took it for a video game even when the bombs were dropping. You saw all these cartoon models of what is happening as if it's a video game and not people's lives being taken for absolutely no reason but greed. So when we talk about freedom and liberty and all of these things, we must talk about Haiti. Haiti can't be left out of the conversation. Alright, before I move on to this next part, this next section of the discussion about Haiti, let's put it into perspective. So 1804, Haiti defeated the French, defeated a British army, and they defeated the local the local ruling class in order to gain their independence. And they also began to assist other people in gaining their freedom in South America, which was successful. But let us not forget the world that Haiti lives in. To the north of Haiti is the United States. Huge military, still conquering lands, committing genocide against natives, still a colonial power, still had African people in slavery, still an oppressive government, still hated Haiti, even though Haiti defeating France allowed the United States to expand. But that is not something that we commend, because that is still the stealing of land. It's just handing over land from one oppressor to another oppressor. So Britain, France, the European powers still are the major powers in the world. They still are the colonial powers. They're getting ready to invade Africa and colonize Africa, even though they already have been destabilizing Africa for a long time. And they're going into Asia and all these places. They're still militarily superior. They're still strong powers in the world. It just so happened that Haitians were brilliant enough to defeat them in Haiti and get control of their land and get their freedom. That is how fierce and that is how intelligent these people were. Right? But they're still in a world where they are outnumbered. So if the support that Haiti gave to the South Americans isn't reciprocated, we have to understand that Haiti still is in a vulnerable position. Haiti is still in a vulnerable position. So let's fast track to 1915. And I'm going to be reading from the Washington Post. So you know that if this is coming in the Washington Post, this is not my personal bias. This is coming from the mouth of the oppressor. But generally, 100 years, even 50 years after they do something fucked up, they will release papers showing evidence that they did something fucked up, and they will talk about it and this and that, because you know it's long gone, and most people don't give a, most people don't care anymore. So here we are going to be talking about the US occupation of Haiti. So 100 years ago, the US invaded and occupied this country. Can you name it? A century ago, American troops invaded and occupied a foreign nation. They would stay there for almost 2 decades, install a client government, impose new laws, and fight insurgents in bloody battles and difficult terrain. Thousands of residents perished during what turned out to be 19 years of de facto US rule. The country was Haiti, the Caribbean nation that's often seen by outsiders as a metaphor for poverty and disaster. And let me interject. A metaphor for poverty and disaster by design. So you understand that Europe, North America, once Haiti gained their independence, and they saw the effect that had on African people. And when I say African people, I'm talking about everyone of African descent. I'm talking about black people. When they see the ones they enslaved, the African people they enslaved, when they see them hear about Haiti and they see an uprising in rebellions, of course they are going to resent Haiti. And they're going to spend the rest of their existence trying to subjugate Haiti. And if they can't take it over militarily, they find some other way. They blockade them, starve them to death, to make sure that they bend to the will of European power, Euro-American power. So they are going to make Haiti become an example of poverty. And then we now join in with Europeans and talk down to Haiti. Anybody come around me with that shit, there's either 2 reactions. Either I'm going to tell you to F off, or I'm going to just shut my mouth up and not have an exchange with you, because it will become very heated. Because I cannot stand dunce people that are very arrogant and very ignorant. I cannot stand that type of people. The country was Haiti, the Caribbean nation that's often seen by outsiders as a metaphor for poverty and disaster. Yet rarely are Americans confronted with their own hand in its misfortunes. On Tuesday, a group of protesters marched to the U.S. Embassy in the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince in commemoration of the grim legacy of the U.S. occupation, which began in July 1915 after President Woodrow Wilson used political chaos and violence in the country as a grounds to intervene. Some in Washington feared the threat of competing French and German interests in the Caribbean. So now we're talking about the country that where the British came and Europeans came and they stole the east coast of North America from the natives. And then they spent the following centuries invading and committing genocide and stealing land from the natives until they reach the Pacific Ocean. And now they are going to use as a pretext to invade Haiti, right? They're going to use chaos, political chaos as grounds to invade Haiti, as a pretext to invade Haiti. They have wanted to subjugate Haiti for a long period of time. They just had the excuse now because the world was in chaos and they could invade Haiti now because nobody is watching. And Haiti is vulnerable now. And we have the military might now. We have the confidence to invade Haiti now. The liberal democratic values Wilson so famously championed in Europe were not so visible in Haiti. A largely black republic that since its independence from France a century earlier had been regarded with fear and contempt by America's white ruling class. Think of it, niggers speaking French. William Jennings Bryan, Wilson's Secretary of State, in a chilling echo of the Jim Crow era bigotry of the time. Let me repeat that. Think of it, niggers speaking French. So they hated the fact. This is 100 years after. This is after slavery was abolished. So this is the Secretary of State of the United States. And you can see the contempt they had for Haiti. Though framed as an attempt to bring stability to an unstable, benighted land, the United States also wanted to make sure that the Haitian government was compatible to American economic interests and friendly to foreign investment, writes Laurent Dubois, a Duke University academic and author of Haiti, The Aftershocks of History. In Haiti, the reality of American actions sharply contradict the gloss of American leaders' liberal protestations, wrote the historian Hans Schmidt, whose 1971 book on the U.S. occupation is still a widely cited text. Racist preconceptions reinforced by the current debasement of Haiti's political institutions place the Haitians far below Americans, considered necessary for democracy, self-government, and constitutionalism. It was also a moment where Washington did little to disguise its sense of imperial entitlement in the neighborhood. A number of fledgling governments in the Caribbean and Central America all suffered U.S. invasions and the imposition of policies favorable to American strategic interests and big business. Banana republics didn't just spring up on their own. Here's a summation of events in Haiti from the U.S. State Department's Office of the Historian. The United States gained complete control over Haitian finances and the right to intervene in Haiti whenever the U.S. government deemed necessary. The U.S. government also forced the election of a new pro-American president, Felipe Sodre Dartiguenav, by the Haitian legislature in August 1915. The selection of a president that did not represent the choice of the Haitian populace increased unrest in Haiti. Following the successful manipulation of the 1915 elections, the Wilson administration attempted to strong-arm the Haitian legislature into adopting a new constitution in 1917. This constitution allowed foreign land ownership, which had been outlawed since the Haitian Revolution, was a way to prevent foreign control of the country. Full stop right there. Pause. Pause, pause, pause. Pause again. Pause again. See this now, this is critical to nations in the Caribbean, to nations across the world who might not be might not be rich, but be wealthy and not know it. This is what your constitution should be about. Making sure that the land in your country cannot, will never be owned by foreigners. If that is not the case, you are setting up yourself for outsiders to come in and control. If Jamaica could just understand this. This is killing Jamaica. Foreign land ownership. When you see the US invade a country for the specific purpose of changing their constitution to allow foreigners to own land, that is what they want to control. The people's land. Because when you control the land, nothing else matters, because all the wealth is in your hands. Because where does the food grow? On the land. Where are the natural resources? On the land. So when you see a place like Jamaica living in poverty for so long, if everybody living in poverty for so long, and then you have these people that are just wealthy beyond a human being's understanding. And when you look at all the shops, when you see the owners walking out, none of them are of African descent. Very few of them. You understand that whoever set up the constitution did not set it up for the benefit of the people and even of the country of Jamaica. They set it up for the benefit of who is currently ruling. So this constitution allowed foreign land ownership, which had been outlawed since the Haitian Revolution, as a way to prevent foreign control of the country. Extremely reluctant to change the long-standing law, the legislature rejected the new constitution. Lawmakers began drafting a new anti-American constitution, but the United States forced President Darty Gwenave to dissolve the legislature, which did not meet again until 1929. Particularly in 1919 and 1920, rebel uprisings sought to dislodge U.S. influence on the island. The revolts were in part spurred by the heavy-handed practices of the American occupation, which included segregation and enforced chain gangs to build roads and other construction projects. There was brutal suppression according to eyewitness accounts. Military camps have been built throughout the island. The property of natives had been taken for military use. Haitians carrying a gun were for a time shot at sight. Many Haitians not carrying guns were also shot at sight, wrote Herbert Seligman in The Nation magazine in 1920. Machine guns have been turned into crowds of unarmed natives, and United States Marines have, by account which several of them gave me in a casual conversation, not troubled to investigate how many were killed or wounded. Du Bois cites one notorious image taken by a U.S. Marine on the slain Haitian rebel Charlemagne Perralte, strung up naked in a loincloth. The photo was disseminated across the island as a warning against insurgency, but instead, with its haunting evocation of the crucifixion, became an icon of resistance. Alright, so how do we need to look at this? Alright, how do we look at this? The goal of the imperialists is to have control and subjugate you to their will. So anytime you see a country acting as an independent state, acting like they want to own the resources and manage the resources in their country as for the benefit of locals, it becomes a problem to the imperialists. So now we see Haiti invaded, outright, just straight up invaded by the American military. Now in the 1970s, you had Michael Manley in Jamaica talking about nationalism and all these and good things that are about, self-building, self-sufficiency. And that was also a threat. And what ended up happening in Jamaica, it happened to several other countries, the United States and their allies. So the destabilization of the country. And in Jamaica's case, they used the opposition party, the JLP, and the American-born Edward Seaga. They used him and his cronies to destabilize Jamaica. For the purpose of what? Making sure Jamaica continues to be friendly to U.S. economic interests. Now, when you talk about being friendly to U.S. economic interests, you're not talking about an equal exchange of goods and ideas and money and wealth. You're talking about Jamaica becoming a market. Jamaican land, Jamaican resources become easily accessible. That is what you speak about when you're talking about having a friendly economic relationship to an imperialist power. It is not about your benefit. It's about how they want you to behave, how your actions will benefit them. That is all it is about. And a lot of times we cast blame on each other, which is fair a lot of the times, but we have to understand that we are in a bigger world where other people are imposing their will on us. And our main downfall, we are not ready to defend. We are never ready to defend ourselves. And even though people have subjugated us to enslavement, we have still not created an environment where we make sure that it's impossible for people to do that to us again. Because the moment we start to disagree with them and their economic interests, they can invade at any time. They can just find a few troublemakers to start a problem in the country and just turn the country into just chaos. And so you end up having to bend to their will anyway. So anyway, they did this to Haiti. They occupied Haiti, trying to own the land. So what does that tell you about land ownership? People who are selling off land to foreigners. Don't ever sell the land. It's better you pass it down to your child and make it so that they can never sell the land either. So the Haitian-American author Edwidge Dandiket writes, further on the memory of the violence. One of the stories my grandfather's oldest son, my Uncle Joseph, used to tell was of watching a group of young Marines kicking around a man's decapitated head in an effort to frighten the rebels in their area. There are more stories still of the Marines' boots sounding like gallipot, a fabled three-legged horse, which all children were supposed to fear. Of the blackface that the Marines wore to blend in and hide from view. Of the time, U.S. Marines assassinated one of the occupation's most famous fighters, Charlemagne Peralta, and pinned his body to a door where it was left to rot in the sun for days. To be sure, the U.S. occupation wasn't all bloodshed and brutality. Haiti's infrastructure was considerably improved, its education system revamped, and Port-au-Prince was turned into a teeming metropolitan center. But the lengthy 19-year period of domination is hardly remembered with fondness. The American occupation was a failure, said Harold Toussaint, a professor at the State University of Haiti, in an interview with the Miami Herald. There was stability of domestic currency and they diminish corruption in the public administration. But the objective they had, friendly relations between Haiti and the US, didn't happen. As the journalist Jonathan Katz detailed in his book, Friendly Relations Between US and Haiti. You see the euphemism used there, friendly relations. There's nothing friendly about occupation and the reason for occupation. The reason for occupation is to subjugate. Right? Is to subjugate. These people have proven for centuries that they aren't into being subjugated. You might find a few here and there who will go along with your base and join you in betraying Haiti. However, the people as a collective, they have proven that they aren't about being subjugated. They aren't about being enslaved. And this is why you have such a level of chaos in Haiti, because the people are not going to be subjugated. They rather live in chaos than smile while they're being subjugated, like some of us are. You see that freedom or chaos. So if you're not going to allow these people to live in freedom, it's going to be chaos. And that sometimes I feel like that is how it should be, because we get too comfortable. We get too comfortable living in places where it seems peaceful because we shut up about oppression. It seems peaceful because we just go along with the desires of others. As a journalist, Jonathan Cox detailed in his book on Haiti's long miserable experience with foreign aid and intervention, the Americans left behind a new template for inequity and misrule. After the United States left in 1934, their successors continued bolstering control over rural politics, expropriating peasant land for factories that produce commodities for the United States, and stifling dissent using the army the Americans created. What? They left knowing that they set up a system that will just propagate itself. You set up a system, you give control to a few, and you set up just a government where they are benefiting and they can do anything they want to the populace. Same shit in Jamaica. In 1933, Smedley Butler, former general in the US Marine Corps, spoke with uncommon venom about the role his troops played in Haiti and beyond. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service as a member of this country's most agile military force, the Marine Corps. I served in all commissioned ranks from second lieutenant to major general. And during that period, I spent most of my time being a high-class muscleman for big business, for Wall Street, for the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the national city bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefits of Wall Street. During those years, I had, as the boys in the back room would say, a swell racket, concluded Butler. Looking back on it, I feel that I could have given Al Capone a few hints. Alright, so here we see an agent of the system giving his account of the work that he performed in Haiti and other places. So, when we look at these countries, we have to understand how and why they are in the position they're in. And in Haiti's case, since its independence, the US had an embargo on Haiti. France had an embargo on Haiti. Spain had an embargo on Haiti. So the powers of the world isolated Haiti. They fostered relationships where neocolonialism ruled, because being isolated, Haiti had to depend somewhat upon merchants from these countries, so they dictate the relationships. So they crippled the Haitian economy. This relationship where foreign companies are dictating how trade works, of course, is going to cripple the economy of Haiti. So when you hear about these third world / shithole countries, just understand how they came into existence. Because a person like Donald Trump is going to talk about shithole countries as if there is something inherently wrong with these people, why their countries might be in economic turmoil or political turmoil. They're not going to take any responsibility for what they did. Give you the full perspective of why certain countries are in certain situations, and they're certainly not going to take any of the blame when, in fact, they are critical agents, actors. They play a critical role in destabilizing these countries politically and economically. So I'm going to read you an excerpt of one last piece of writing, and I will end this discussion about Haiti there. But I would just like you to take away from this podcast why Haiti is important to us and why the major powers of the world have a hand in crushing what Haiti represents to black people. So this article I'm reading from now, it's talking about the economic relationship between the US and Haiti after and even during the Haitian Revolution. So there was substantial trade between the United States and Haiti even after the Haitian Revolution ended slavery. Haiti sold coffee, molasses, sugar, cotton, hides, and so on, and bought dry cod, cloth, hardware, other bulk commodities. But Thomas Jefferson, the slave-owning, slave-selling president of the United States, was terrified by the successful slave rebellion and went so far as to call Toussaint Louverture's army cannibals. Louverture was a leader of Haiti's liberation struggle and its army. Jefferson gave backhanded support to the Haitian struggle when its successes led France to consider selling Louisiana. But that was just a temporary maneuver. He was opposed to Haitian independence. He tried hard to prevent any contact between the United States and Haiti. Jefferson called upon Congress, which his party controlled, to abolish trade between the two countries. France and Spain, two major colonial powers in the Caribbean at the time, were also enforcing boycotts of Haitian trade. Consequently, partially in 1805 and finally in 1806, trade between the United States and Haiti was formally shut down. Trade still continued on an unofficial basis. U.S. ships would call on Haitian ports, but Haitian ships were excluded from U.S. ports. This decimated the Haitian economy, already weakened by the 12 years of hard fighting and much destruction. In the 1920s, South Carolina Senator Robert H. Hayne made the U.S. position absolutely clear when he stated, "Our policy with regard to Haiti is plain. We never can acknowledge her independence. Acknowledging Haiti's independence would have thrown slavery, the foundation of the South's economy and prosperity, into question." The embargo led U.S. merchants to dictate the terms of trade between the two countries, establishing a neo-colonial relationship. Jefferson and other racist slave owners kept the United States from recognizing Haiti until 1862. The U.S. slave owners presented the racist argument that Haiti's devastating economic decline was an example of what happens when Africans govern themselves. So you see, this is what we talk about. They do everything in their power to wreck your country, to wreck your economy. Even when you are not interested in doing trade with them, they will try to prevent other people from trading with you. So these people are the definition of what bad mind is. But then they turn around and point fingers at you when your economy is wrecked because they are behind the scenes pulling strings to wreck your economy and foster destabilizing forces in your country. But then they point on you and say it's your fault because, say, black people can't rule themselves because they are not intelligent enough. This is in the mind of a person like Donald Trump. That's the mind of a person like Donald Trump. It isn't the person who is being a shithole, who is trying to steal and rob and plunder. That is not the person that something is wrong with. Something is wrong with the person being robbed from. Before the Haitian Revolution, Saint Dominique, his French name, was more lucrative for France than the 13 colonies ever was for Great Britain. They did not mention that Haiti's problems were caused by their own cruel and punishing neo-colonial economic policies and actions. So that is where I would like to end this discussion about Haiti. Haiti is not in the position it's in because of some inherent fault of blackness or of Africanness. Haiti is in the position it's in because of concerted efforts by the major powers of the world to make an example out of Haiti, to make sure Haiti fails. And this relationship didn't stop there in the 1800s. They invaded Haiti in 1915 and controlled it for 20 years. And they supported dictator after dictator in Haiti because what? These dictators supported the economic agenda of North America and Europe. And even when Haiti elected their first president in the 90s, the US was against that. And in what? I think 2003, they ousted the elected president of Haiti who recently returned to the country to assume power. They ousted him. And we're not even going to talk about the Clintons raping Haiti. We're not going to even talk about that today. Leave that for our next day. But just understand that Haiti is not in the position it is in because of a failure of Haitians. And when we talk about Haiti and we speak about Haiti, we must speak about Haiti with honor and with respect and love and admiration. These people didn't settle for... So when you hear people labeling countries like Haiti third world or shithole, I just wanted to know, how did it get to the point where these people can even say things like that? And for the ones who are outraged at Donald Trump, I want you to know that they also you will not hear them discussing these issues as to why their governments are to take a lot of the blame for Haiti and for African countries being in the position they are in today economically. They are never going to discuss the critical issues, the important issues that are going to spark real conversation about policy, about government economic policies. All their policies are about, their arguments are about appealing to people's emotions. So the emotions that people will feel when they hear shithole versus the base term third world, the accepted terminology, which is third world. So they have that discussion now about shithole, and these are just appealing to emotions. They are not discussing the core politics of why people are even leaving these countries in the first place. These countries that have the resources that make everything that we are consuming, all the luxuries that we consume, are coming from these places. That's where the resources are. So why these people who live on the wealth, why are they coming here? Why do we call those places third world? What role do we play? How do we destabilize their economies? How do we respond to them when they want the relationship to change from you benefiting from them to both of you benefiting or them benefiting more than you? Why do we bomb these countries? These are the discussions that they will never be having. They will never have. All they have a problem with is the terminology that Donald Trump uses. You see the core, the actual racism, not just the racist words used. We're talking about the system of racism. We're talking about them subjugating people systematically. They aren't going to have these discussions because their bosses are invested in keeping these countries in the positions they are in, so they can get cheap raw materials, so they can continue to have access to cheap raw materials. So instead of going against the imperialism, they prefer to focus on the terminology used, when all of them, they have the same thinking when it comes down to the core. Are we going to be fair to these people, or are we going to continue to hold a position of imperialism where we take from them, and when they come here we try to block them from coming. We try to block them from following their resources. Alright people, I'm definitely going right now. Thanks again for listening. Please comment below and big up yourself.